The storm came from nowhere. One moment, the sky above the desert was calm and gold. The next, it turned black like spilled ink. Lightning split the air, and the wind began to scream through the endless dunes. Commander Ethan Kane, a former soldier of the Terran fleet, tightened his cloak and checked his scanner. His small ship had crashed 2 hours ago, and the sandstorm had wiped out all signal. He was alone, or at least he thought he was. But then he saw her, a figure stumbling through the dust, fighting the wind. Her steps were weak, her body wrapped in a torn black cloak. Ethan blinked through the visor's dust filter. No beacon, no ID tag, just a lone traveler in the middle of a dead zone. He hesitated. The last time he had helped a stranger, it nearly got him killed. Still, something in her movement, slow but steady, felt different. He moved closer, calling out through his comms, though he knew no one could hear. "Hey, over here." The figure stopped. For a second, Ethan thought she would fall. He ran the last few meters and caught her before she hit the sand. Her cloak fell back slightly and Ethan froze. Her face was pale, too perfect, like carved porcelain. Her eyes, silver, almost metallic, flickered open for just a second before closing again. "Hey, you're safe now," Ethan said, though his voice trembled. He carried her to his wrecked ship and laid her down near the emergency heater. She was light, far too light for someone wearing armor under that cloak. When he tried to scan her, his device flickered and died. "What the hell?" he muttered. Power surge. The storm raged outside, shaking the ship like a tin can. He tried again, but every system blinked red. Life support offline. Comms offline. Scanner dead. Only the emergency light flickered in the dark, casting long shadows over her face. Ethan took a deep breath and stared at her. Who was she? A spy? A lost traveler? Or worse, one of the Ascendants, the ruling class of the Galactic Core, who treated humans like dust under their boots? He laughed to himself. Yeah, right, Ethan. An Ascendant wandering in the wastelands of a forgotten planet. Still, something about her didn't add up. Her cloak was woven with nanofibers far beyond his tech level. Even her breathing, slow, calm, controlled, seemed unnatural. Hours passed. The storm finally began to fade, leaving the world silent again. Then, without warning, she spoke. "Where am I?" Her voice was soft, but it carried a weight that made Ethan's heart jump. "You're safe," he said. "My ship crashed near Sector 9. I found you out there, almost buried. Who are you?" She looked at him, and for a moment, he felt like she was reading every memory he had ever lived. "No one," she said quietly. "Just someone who got lost." Ethan frowned. "No one? You don't look like no one. That's military-grade armor under that cloak." She smiled faintly. "Maybe once." He poured her some water. She accepted it slowly, watching him as if she had never seen someone do such a simple thing. "You're human," she said softly. Ethan raised an eyebrow. "Of course I'm human. What else would I be?" She didn't answer. Instead, she looked out the cracked window, where the stars were beginning to pierce through the clearing storm. "Your kind still walks these sands," she whispered, almost to herself. "After all this time." Ethan didn't know what to say. Her words didn't make sense. After all this time? What did she mean? He leaned forward. "Listen, whoever you are, once the systems reboot, I can get us off this planet. Maybe then you can tell me who you're running from." Her eyes turned to him again, those silver eyes that looked too old for her face. "You would not believe me even if I told you." "Try me," he said. She smiled again, a small, sad smile. "I used to command worlds, Commander Kane. I once stood where empires knelt." Ethan froze. The name, his rank. She shouldn't have known it. He stepped back, his hand instinctively going his sidearm. "How do you know my name?" Her gaze hardened. "Because your world once served mine." Before Ethan could speak, the emergency lights flickered again. A strange hum filled the cabin, not from his systems, but from her. The air shimmered around her body, faint symbols glowing across her skin like starlight. Ethan stumbled backward. "What were you?" She looked up at him, her eyes now glowing brighter. I am what your kind forgot, she said, and they will come for me. Outside, the desert began to tremble. The storm was gone, but in the distance, a blue light burned through the sky, a ship descending fast. Ethan's heart pounded. He didn't know who these people were or why they were coming, but he knew one thing. The woman he had just saved was no ordinary traveler, and whatever she was running from, it had just found her. The blue light in the sky grew brighter. Ethan stepped to the cracked window and saw a sleek silver ship descending fast through the clouds. It moved with silent precision, too advanced for any local colony craft. He felt a chill run down his spine. "They found me," the woman whispered. Ethan turned to her. "Who found you?" She didn't answer. Her eyes were fixed on the burning sky. "We need to leave now." "Leave." Ethan gave a bitter laugh. "In case you didn't notice, my ship's half dead. Power's out, engines are gone." Before he could finish, the air around her shimmered again. The same strange symbols that had appeared before glowed across her hands. The lights on the control panels flickered, then turned green. Systems came online one by one. Power restored, oxygen level stable, engines warming. Ethan stared in disbelief. "How are you doing that?" "I am only borrowing what your systems already have," she said calmly. "You have 3 minutes before they arrive." He blinked. 3 minutes before who arrives? The ones who want to take me back. The word sent a cold weight into Ethan's chest. He didn't understand what was happening, but the fear in her voice felt real. He grabbed his sidearm and looked at her. "You better start explaining." She looked at him with those silver eyes again, full of something between sadness and warning. "If I tell you, Commander, you will wish I hadn't." Ethan gritted his teeth. "Try me?" She hesitated. "My name is Lyra. I was once part of the Celestian Dominion, the empire that rules the core worlds. I commanded fleets. I built nations. And then I disobeyed." Ethan stared at her. "You expect me to believe that?" She tilted her head slightly. "You already do." Outside, the silver ship landed in the sand, kicking up waves of dust. The sound was like thunder. A ramp opened, and tall, armored figures stepped out, black armor with glowing red visors. They moved like machines, but too precise to be human. Ethan's instinct screamed. He knew soldiers when he saw them. These weren't rescuers. They were hunters. "Who are they?" he asked. "Sentinels," Lyra said. "Created to protect the Dominion. Now they are here to erase what I know." Ethan peeked through the broken viewport. There were at least 6 of them, maybe more. "You said they're coming for you. What about me?" "They will kill you, too," she said softly. "No witnesses." Ethan cursed under his breath. "Then I guess I'm not letting them in." He rushed to the control panel and activated the ship's defense grid, weak shields, half-damaged turrets. It wasn't much, but it was something. Outside, the Sentinels spread out, forming a perfect circle around the wreck. Lyra stepped beside him. "You cannot win this fight." "I don't plan to," Ethan said. "I just plan to survive it." The Sentinels opened fire. Blue plasma bolts tore through the hull. The ship shook violently. Sparks flew as metal burned and panels shattered. Ethan grabbed the controls, trying to reroute power to the shields, but they were already failing. Lyra closed her eyes. "Move aside." Before he could argue, she raised her hand. A pulse of white light burst from her palm, sweeping through the ship. The air hummed. Outside, the plasma bolts froze midair, hanging in place, motionless, before dropping harmlessly into the sand. Ethan stared, his mouth open. "What did you—" "Later," she said. "Run." They rushed out through the back hatch into the desert night. The air was cold, the stars sharp and endless above them. Behind them, the Sentinels were already moving again, their visors glowing like fire. Ethan stumbled through the dunes, his lungs burning. "You said they can't be stopped. What now?" Lyra didn't slow down. "There's a safe place not far, an old mining base under the cliffs. We can hide there. How do you even know about that place?" "I built it," she said simply. They reached a rocky ridge. Ethan glanced back and saw one of the Sentinels raise an arm. A blast of energy cut through the sand just meters away, sending both of them flying. Ethan hit the ground hard, his ears ringing. He rolled over and saw Lyra lying still, her cloak torn. "Lyra!" He crawled toward her, pulling her up. Her eyes flickered open weakly. "I can't hold them off," she whispered. "You don't have to," Ethan said. "Just tell me what to do." She looked at him, surprised. "You would die for someone you just met?" He forced a smile. "I'm already dead if I don't." Her eyes softened for the first time. "Then hold on to me." Before he could react, she placed her hand on his chest. A surge of energy flooded through him. Heat, light, power. His vision blurred, and when it cleared, the world around them was gone. They were standing inside a dark tunnel. The sound of wind and gunfire had vanished. Only silence remained. Ethan looked around, breathing hard. Were what just happened? "I moved us," she said. "A fold in space. Short-range jump." Ethan stared at her, realizing this woman had just teleported them miles away. "You could have done that earlier." Her expression darkened. "Every jump weakens me. I cannot do it again soon." Ethan leaned against the wall, trying to catch his breath. "So what now?" Lyra looked toward the tunnel's end, where faint lights glowed. "Now, we find out if you are truly human or something more." Ethan frowned. "What does that mean?" She looked back at him, her silver eyes glowing faintly. "Because no ordinary human could survive that much power." Outside, far across the dunes, the sentinels found only empty sand where they had stood. One of them raised its head toward the stars and spoke in a metallic voice. "Target escaped. Notify the High Regent. The Lost Queen is alive." The tunnel stretched for miles beneath the cliffs. Every sound, their footsteps, their breathing, echoed like whispers in stone. Faint blue lights blinked along the walls, old and flickering, leading them deeper into the dark. Ethan kept his weapon ready, his nerves tight. He still didn't know what this place was or how Lyra had known existed. But what scared him most was how calm she looked. She walked like someone who had been here 1,000 times before. Finally, the tunnel opened into a wide chamber. Rusty machines stood in silence. Broken screens hung from the ceiling, covered in dust. It looked like no one had been here for centuries. Ethan exhaled. "So this is your big, safe place?" Lyra didn't answer. She walked to the nearest console and brushed off the dust with her fingers. The old machine blinked once, then came alive, glowing faintly blue. "This base was built before your world even learned to travel the stars," she said. "It still remembers my command codes." Ethan frowned. "Your command codes? You said you were part of the Dominion. That was thousands of years ago." She looked up at him, her silver eyes dim in the cold light. "Time flows differently for those who rule the stars." He opened his mouth to speak, but stopped. Something about her tone made him realize she wasn't joking. "You're serious," he whispered. Lyra nodded slowly. "I fell from the heavens, Commander. I led fleets that burned across galaxies. But I broke their laws when I tried to free the worlds they enslaved." She paused, her voice softer. "They erased my name from every record. And now they want to erase me." Ethan rubbed his face, trying to process everything. "So you're saying you're what? Some kind of ancient queen?" "Once," she said quietly. "Now I am only a fugitive." The silence between them felt heavy. The hum of the old machines filled the space. Ethan finally spoke. "If that's true, why come to this planet? It's dead. There's nothing here." Lyra turned toward him. "Because I knew someone would help me here." He blinked. "Someone like me?" She gave him a faint smile. "Yes, a human who still remembers what kindness means." Ethan shook his head. "You got the wrong guy. I'm no hero." "Maybe not," she said softly, "but you didn't walk away." Before Ethan could answer, the console beeped sharply. Lyra's smile faded. "They found us." The screen displayed a red signal. Incoming transmission. A distorted voice echoed through the speakers. "To the one who hides beneath the cliffs, surrender the fugitive. You have 30 minutes. Resistance is death." Ethan cursed. How did they track us so fast? Lyra's eyes narrowed. The jump left an energy trace. I was weak. I couldn't cloak it. Can't you just teleport again? Ethan asked. She shook her head, not without destroying both of us. Ethan paced the floor, thinking fast. How strong are they? Strong enough to destroy this planet if they must. He stopped and looked at her. Then why even chase you this far? What are you carrying that scares them so much? She hesitated. A memory, a secret they buried long ago, something that could end their reign. Ethan sighed. And I just happened to find a one-person galaxy once dead. Lyra looked at him seriously. If they reach me, they will not stop with me. They will burn everything around me, including you. Ethan picked up his rifle and checked the power cell. Then we don't let them reach you. Her eyes softened. You still have a soldier's heart. He smiled faintly. Bad habit. Lyra moved to another console, touching glowing symbols Ethan didn't understand. The walls began to shift, opening hidden panels. Old drones floated out, rusted but still operational. These are old guardians, she said. They once defended this place. They will buy us time. Ethan nodded. Then let's make it count. Minutes passed like hours. The distant sound of engines echoed through the tunnel. The sentinels were coming. Ethan crouched near the entrance, weapon ready. Lyra stood beside him, her cloak fluttering slightly in the cold air. You don't have to stay, she said. You could leave through the escape corridor. He glanced at her. And leave you alone with those things? Not a chance. A small smile crossed her lips. You remind me of the first humans I met, brave and reckless. Yeah, well, he muttered, reckless is kind of our thing. Then the walls shook. The sentinels had arrived. Blue plasma beams cut through the stone, filling the chamber with smoke and fire. Ethan fired back, his shots echoing through the darkness. Drones whirled into the air, returning fire with beams of light. Lyra raised her hand, forming a shimmering barrier of energy that blocked the incoming blasts. Her body trembled with effort, her eyes burning like molten silver. Ethan looked at her in awe. You're going to burn yourself out. I can hold, she said through gritted teeth. Just a little longer. A sentinel broke through the barrier, landing heavily on the floor. Its red visor locked on Ethan. He fired, but the creature kept coming. Then Lyra stepped forward. The air around her pulsed, bending light itself. She raised her hand, and the sentinel froze, its armor glowing white-hot before exploding into dust. When the blast faded, she staggered, nearly falling. Ethan caught her just in time. Hey, stay with me, he said, shaking her gently. Her eyes fluttered open. They will not stop, Ethan, not until I am gone. He looked toward the tunnel, where more shadows moved. Then they're going to have to go through me first. For the first time, she looked at him, really looked at him, and whispered, maybe humanity has not fallen as far as I thought. Outside, more ships descended from the night sky. Inside, the old base trembled like a dying heart. The storm was coming again, and this time there would be no running. The ground shook harder with every blast. Dust rained from the ceiling. Old machines screamed and sparked. Ethan ducked behind a broken pillar, while blue plasma fire scorched the walls. Lyra, he shouted over the noise, we can't hold this place much longer. Lyra stood in the center of the chamber, her cloak torn, her silver eyes glowing faintly. The barrier she had raised was cracking like glass. Every impact from the sentinels made it weaker. I know, she said, but we must reach the core before they do. The core? Ethan coughed through the smoke. What core? She pointed toward a sealed door at the far end of the hall. Symbols glowed faintly across its surface, the same strange marks that had appeared on her skin. It sleeps beneath us, she said, a power older than the Dominion, built when humanity still touched the stars. Ethan frowned. Humanity built this? Yes, she replied softly. Before the Dominion rose, your kind ruled the skies. This base was their last creation, a guardian buried in silence. The sentinel's fire grew louder. One of them forced his way through the barrier, its heavy steps shaking the floor. Ethan fired, hitting it in the chest, but the creature didn't fall. Lyra raised her hand, and unleashed a wave of energy that threw it backward into the wall. The explosion left a hole of burning metal. "Move!" she shouted. Ethan followed her through the smoke toward the sealed door. The old console beside it blinked red. "It needs a code," he said. Lyra placed her hand on the panel. Light spread from her palm, running through the circuits like living fire. The door began to open, groaning loudly. Behind them, more sentinels marched into the chamber, their red eyes glowing in the dark. "Lyra," Ethan yelled, "they're almost here." She didn't answer. Her face was pale, her focus locked on the massive door. The symbols glowed brighter until, with a deep rumble, the door split open, revealing a vast shaft ascending into the earth. Warm golden light pulsed from below. Ethan stared. "What the hell is down there?" "The heart of the Guardian," she said. "If I can awaken it, it will protect us and maybe stop them." Ethan hesitated. "And if you can't?" She met his eyes. "Then the Dominion will find what it fears most." They ran down the spiral stairs into the glowing chamber. The deeper they went, the warmer the air became. Lines of ancient metal curved through the walls, shining faintly like veins of light. Finally, they reached the bottom, a circular room with a massive structure in its center. It looked like a sleeping giant, made of metal and stone, half buried in the floor. Ethan took a step closer. "Is that alive?" Lyra nodded slowly. "Not yet." She knelt before the giant's chest, pressing her hands against a smooth crystal panel. Symbols appeared, glowing around her like a halo. Above them, the sentinel's footsteps echoed down the shaft. They were coming fast. Ethan raised his weapon and aimed at the stairs. "You better hurry." Lyra's voice was calm, almost a whisper. "It listens to blood and memory. It was made to answer to those who once led humanity. It will not respond to me." Ethan frowned. "Then who?" Before he could finish, she looked up at him. "It must answer to you." "Me?" "Yes. You are human, descendant of those who made it. Touch the core." Ethan stared at the massive structure, doubt in his eyes. "Lyra, I fix ships. I don't wake gods." "Trust me," she said softly. "It already knows you." The sentinels burst into the chamber, firing without hesitation. Ethan ran toward the glowing crystal, bullets of plasma flying past him. He pressed his hand against the surface. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the world exploded in light. Golden energy surged through the room. The ground trembled as the giant's eyes opened, two blazing suns staring into eternity. A deep, thunderous voice filled the air. Human presence confirmed. Reactivation complete. The sentinels froze mid-attack. Then, one by one, they began to melt, their armor collapsing like wax under fire. Ethan stumbled back, blinded by the light. Lyra stood beside him, smiling faintly. "You did it," he said, his voice shaking. She nodded, though her legs trembled. "No, we did." The Guardian rose slowly, towering above them, its head nearly touching the ceiling. Its voice echoed again. "Threat identified. Dominion sentinels. Neutralizing." Massive beams of light shot upward through the shaft, tearing through stone and steel. Above, the night sky erupted as the enemy ships shattered like glass. Ethan watched in awe. That thing just destroyed them all. Lyra looked up at the glowing Titan. It was built to protect humanity. The Dominion feared it, so they buried it and erased your history. He turned to her. "Then why didn't it wake before?" "Because no one believed in what they were anymore," she said. "Until you—" The Guardian's light began to fade, the room falling silent again. The air felt heavy but peaceful. Ethan looked at Lyra. "Is it over?" She shook her head slowly. "Not yet. The Dominion will come. They will send more. And when they do, they will not stop with me." He clenched his fists. "Then we fight." Lyra smiled softly, almost sadly. "You sound like the humans I once knew." A sudden tremor ran through the base. Ethan looked around. "What now?" Lyra's expression darkened. "The Guardian's awakening sent a signal. They know. The High Regent will come himself." She looked toward the golden giant and whispered, "The war forgotten begins again." Outside, far beyond the cliffs, a shadow moved among the stars, massive and silent. A fleet was coming. And for the first time in centuries, the galaxy would remember the name human. The night sky above the cliffs was no longer silent. Dozens of dark shapes moved between the stars. Vast ships, their engines glowing red like burning eyes. The High Regent's fleet had arrived. From the cliffs, Ethan could see them descending to the clouds, slow and unstoppable. Each one was large enough to swallow cities. Their lights turned the desert below into a field of blood-red shadows. He tightened his grip on the rifle and turned to Lyra. "You said we bought time. That doesn't look like much time to me." Lyra stood at the cliff's edge, her silver eyes reflecting the burning sky. "They came faster than I expected," she said quietly. "The Guardian's awakening frightened them." "Frightened them?" Ethan laughed bitterly. "They're bringing a fleet. That doesn't look like fear." Lyra looked at him calmly. "When the Dominion is afraid, it destroys what it cannot control." The ground beneath them trembled. The Guardian, the massive machine that had saved them, stood half buried in the sand. Its golden light flickered weakly now, drained from the battle. Ethan glanced at it. "Can it fight again?" "Not yet," Lyra said. "It needs time to gather power. Time we may not have." He looked at her. "Then what do we do?" Lyra turned, her expression unreadable. "We prepare for the High Regent." Ethan frowned. "The one who's after you?" "The one who made me," she said softly. Those words hit him harder than any explosion. "You mean—" "Yes," she interrupted. "He created me. The Dominion built me to rule their armies, to command their worlds. I was meant to be their perfect weapon." Ethan stared at her in shock. "You're not human." "I was made from humans," she said. "From your ancestors. I was their image, their strength, without their weakness." He took a slow step closer. "Then why did you run?" Lyra's gaze fell to the sand. "Because I learned what it means to feel, to care. The Dominion feared that more than any weapon." Ethan didn't know what to say. He looked at her, this woman who looked human, spoke human, but carried the power of a god, and felt something heavy stir in his chest. The sky thundered again. The largest of the ships broke through the clouds, its hull covered in dark silver armor, glowing with crimson lines. Lyra's voice went quiet. "He's here." From the heart of that colossal vessel, a beam of red light pierced the ground a few miles away. The air burned where it touched, melting sand into glass. A deep, powerful voice echoed to the desert, not from speakers, but directly in their minds. "Lyra of the Dominion, you were made from perfection, yet you chose rebellion. Kneel now, and I will make your death merciful." Ethan winced, the voice like thunder inside his skull. "That's him." Lyra nodded. "The High Regent." The voice continued. "The human beside you, discard him. He is dust. His kind was meant to serve." Ethan clenched his jaw. "Tell him I'm not interested in serving." Lyra smiled faintly. "He can't hear you." Ethan looked up at the burning sky. "Then tell him this. Humans don't kneel anymore." For a second, silence filled the air. Then the fleet opened fire. Beams of red energy rained down, turning the desert into a storm of explosions. Ethan and Lyra ran, diving behind a ridge as shock waves tore through the sand. The heat was unbearable. "Lyra!" Ethan shouted. "We can't fight that." She pressed her hand to the ground, her eyes glowing brighter. "Yes, we can. The Guardian is listening." The sand beneath them began to move. The ancient machine stirred again, its golden eyes flaring to life. With a sound like mountains cracking, it rose, towering against the storm. Ethan stared in awe. "It's awake again." Lyra's voice trembled with exhaustion. "But it's weak. It cannot fight alone." Ethan's mind raced. "Then what if it doesn't have to?" She turned to him. "What do you mean?" He pointed toward the horizon, where broken pieces of old Terran tech still lay buried. "You said this base was human-built, right? Maybe it wasn't the only one." Lyra's eyes widened as she understood. "There are more." "Then we wake them," Ethan said. He sprinted toward the wreckage, sliding down a slope into the remains of an old hangar. Inside, the sand-covered half-buried machines, smaller versions of the Guardian, their cores long dead. Lyra followed, her cloak torn and glowing faintly in the dark. Ethan, even if they exist, they've been asleep for centuries. He looked at her. Then you're going to teach me how to wake them. Lyra hesitated, then nodded. You will need to link your mind to the command network. It could kill you. Ethan smirked. Could, or it could save us. He placed his hand on the nearest core. Lyra pressed a palm beside his, their energies intertwining, gold and silver light merging together. The chamber filled with a low hum. Focus, Lyra said softly. Show it who you are. Ethan closed his eyes. Images flashed through his mind. Earth's blue sky, the laughter of his crew, the faces of the people he lost. Hope, defiance, humanity. The light spread faster. One machine after another began to glow, waking from centuries of silence. Lyra's voice broke into a whisper. They remember you. Outside, the ground shook as the old guardians rose in the sand. A dozen colossal figures turning their eyes toward the burning sky. The High Regent's voice thundered again, this time edged with fury. Impossible. The humans are extinct. Ethan stepped out from the hangar, his face lit by the glow of the reawakened giants. Guess we didn't get the memo. The Guardians raised their weapons, beams of gold cutting through the night. Lyra looked at him, pride and sorrow mixing in her voice. You just woke the heart of your people, Ethan Kane. He smiled faintly. Then let's remind them why humanity was never meant to kneel. The desert blazed with light as the Guardians fired, striking the Dominion fleet. For the first time in thousands of years, the stars themselves trembled at the return of humankind. The night sky had turned into a war. Golden beams from the awakened Guardians tore through the air, meeting the red fire of the Dominion fleet. The ground shook like the heartbeat of a dying world. Explosions painted the heavens in colors of fire and fury. Ethan stood on the ridge, watching the impossible unfold. 12 Guardians, machines built by ancient humans, now stood shoulder to shoulder, firing into the storm above. Their golden light burned through the darkness like a forgotten sun reborn. Beside him, Lyra was on her knees, her face pale, her strength fading. Each Guardian drew from her power to stay alive. Lyra, Ethan said, crouching beside her, you have to stop. You'll kill yourself. She shook her head weakly. They need me. Without my energy, they'll fall silent again. He looked back at the burning sky. If you die, this all means nothing. Her eyes, still faintly silver, met his. If they win, humanity dies forever. Let me finish what I started. A deafening roar filled the air as a Dominion warship fell from orbit, crashing into the dunes like a burning mountain. Sand turned to glass around it. Ethan shielded his face from the heat. The Guardian closest to them stumbled, its arm blown apart by enemy fire. Ethan looked up. The High Regent's flagship was descending through the clouds, massive and glowing red, surrounded by smaller ships like vultures. Lyra whispered, He's coming himself. Ethan helped her to her feet. Then we end this here. Lyra gave a weak smile. You sound like a soldier again. He glanced at her. Maybe I'm remembering what humans used to be. The ground trembled again as the Guardian beside them knelt, placing its massive hand on the ground. A voice echoed from within it, calm, deep, ancient. Human signal detected. Command input required. Ethan looked up. Command input? What does that mean? Lyra's hand rested on his shoulder. It means it's waiting for you. He hesitated. Me? Yes, she said softly. You woke them. You are their link. You must guide them now. Ethan swallowed hard, staring at the colossal machines towering above. I don't even know how. You already do, she said. The Guardians were built to respond to human instinct, not control, not fear, but purpose. Show them what to fight for. He took a deep breath and pressed his hand against the Guardian's metal surface. The air vibrated. A beam of golden light shot upward, connecting him to all 12 Guardians. Suddenly, he could feel them, their power, their pain, their loyalty. They waited for his command. Ethan closed his eyes. Protect her. Protect our kind. No more running. The Guardians' eyes blazed brighter. Their energy surged, spreading like wildfire across the desert. Together, they aimed their weapons at the High Regent's descending flagship. The High Regent's voice thundered across the sky. You dare challenge the Dominion? You are nothing but remnants of failure. Ethan shouted back, his voice echoing through the storm. Then fear your failure, because it just woke up. The Guardians fired in unison. A storm of golden light tore through the night, slamming into the flagship's shields. For a moment, the sky burned white. The impact was so great that the air itself rippled, but when the light cleared, the flagship still stood. Its shield shimmered cracked, but unbroken. Lyra gasped, "No, his core is protected by ancient tech. We can't destroy it from here." Ethan gritted his teeth. "Then we go up there." Lyra stared at him. "That's suicide." He turned to her with a grin. "You said, I woke the heart of my people, right? Then I'm not dying before finishing what they started." She hesitated, then nodded. "There's a way. The Guardian can open a path to orbit just once." Ethan looked at her. "Then take me there." Lyra placed her hands together, whispering a string of ancient words. One of the Guardians lowered its hand, palm open. A golden platform of energy formed. "Go," she said. "I'll guide you from here." He stepped onto the glowing platform. As it rose, he felt his stomach drop. The desert became smaller, the sky brighter. In seconds, he was above the clouds, heading straight toward the burning flagship. Inside the ship, alarms blared. Dominion soldiers, tall, armored beings with crimson eyes, prepared for battle. Ethan landed on the outer hull, his suit glowing faintly with energy from Lyra's power. He cut his way inside, stepping into the dim corridors filled with smoke and red light. The air vibrated with a voice. "So the human comes to die." Ethan looked up as the floor split apart. The High Regent descended, a towering figure of silver armor and dark light, his eyes like dying stars. "Lyra's creation," the Regent said, his voice echoing like thunder. "You should have stayed forgotten." Ethan raised his weapon. "Maybe, but we're done being forgotten." The Regent laughed, a deep, cold sound. "You think you can stop me, little human?" Ethan's hand tightened around his rifle. "No," he said, "but we can." Outside, the Guardians lifted their hands again. Lyra stood among them, her silver eyes blazing, her voice echoing through the storm. For humanity, the Guardians unleashed a single, focused beam of golden light, straight at the flagship. Inside, Ethan ran toward the Regent as the world turned white around them. The explosion lit up the entire horizon. The flagship cracked open like glass, falling from the sky in burning fragments. The shock wave hit the desert, sending waves of dust miles into the air. Lyra fell to her knees, exhausted but alive. She looked at the heavens where the wreck burned across the stars. "Ethan," she whispered, her voice trembling, "please be alive." Far above the burning sky, amid the wreckage, a single escape pod drifted away, golden light flickering from within. He wasn't done yet. Silence. The kind that follows after destruction. Ethan's eyes fluttered open. He was floating in zero gravity, surrounded by broken metal and dying light. The remains of the Dominion flagship drifted through space, torn apart by the Guardian's final blast. His head throbbed. Blood floated from a small cut on his cheek, shimmering like red stars in the dim light. He tried to move but felt the weight of his damaged armor pressing against his ribs. Every breath burned. "Lyra," he whispered weakly, his voice fading in the cold silence. No answer, only static through the comms. He reached for the console beside him, sparks flickering as he pressed a button. "Lyra, come in." "I'm alive." "Barely, but alive." The only reply was a faint hum of the ship's dying systems. Then a deep metallic echo filled the corridor. Footsteps, slow and deliberate. Ethan froze. He recognized that sound. The High Regent. Somehow he had survived. A figure emerged from the smoke, tall, armored in cracked silver plates, his cape burned and torn. His once bright eyes now glowed dim red, fury pulsing within them. "You destroyed my fleet," the Regent said, his voice distorted and low. "You think that makes you a hero?" Ethan pulled himself upright, his muscles screaming in pain. No, he said quietly. It makes me human. The regent tilted his head. Humanity died long ago. You're only echoes, fragile, weak, and easily erased. Funny, Ethan said, raising his rifle. For something that's extinct, we sure give you a hard time. The regent moved before Ethan could blink. His hand shot forward, grabbing the rifle and crushing it like paper. Ethan flew backward, slamming into a wall. His vision blurred. He could taste blood. The regent advanced slowly, his steps like thunder in the dead ship. You cannot stop me, child of dust. Lyra was mine. Her purpose was to bring me the last of your kind, not to save them. Ethan forced himself to stand. You're lying. The regent smiled, cold, metallic. Am I? Did she ever tell you why she ran, or what she carries within her? Ethan's mind raced. She said you made her to command your armies. Yes, the regent said, but her true design was far greater. She holds a seed of ascension, the code that can rebuild the Dominion or end it forever. Ethan's breath caught. The seed. She doesn't know, the regent continued. The code sleeps inside her, waiting for command. I only needed her to return to me, and now you've delivered her right to my door. Ethan's heart pounded. You're lying. The regent's eyes flared red. Then look for yourself. He extended his hand, and a holographic screen flickered to life between them. It showed Lyra unconscious, inside the Desert Command hub. Her body glowed faintly, streams of code running beneath her skin. Ethan stared in horror. What is happening to her? She is waking, the regent said. Once complete, she will become what she was meant to be, a living key to the Dominion's rebirth. Ethan clenched his fists. Not if I can stop it. The regent's tone darkened. You cannot. You are a man out of time, clinging to the ashes of a dead race. Humanity was a mistake, and I will erase its memory forever. Something inside Ethan snapped. He charged forward, grabbing a broken metal pipe from the floor and swinging it with all his strength. The regent caught it easily, but this time Ethan didn't stop. He slammed a damaged power cell into the regent's chest, and it exploded. The blast threw them both across the room. Sparks filled the air. Ethan hit the wall hard, his armor cracked, lungs burning. The regent fell to one knee, smoke rising from his armor. You dare. Yeah. Ethan coughed, pushing himself up. That's the thing about humans. We always dare. He staggered toward the ship's command core, a glowing blue sphere humming faintly. If he could reroute its last power reserves, maybe he could send a signal to Lyra. His fingers flew across the cracked console. Come on, just one more spark. The ship trembled. The hologram flickered, Lyra's image blinking to life again. She was awake now, her silver eyes wide with confusion. Ethan? Her voice came through, weak but alive. He smiled, relief washing over him. Still here. Where are you? On what's left of the regent's ship. He's hurt, but not done. Lyra, listen, you're in danger. There's something inside you. He called it the seed. Lyra froze. The seed? I felt it. I thought it was a memory. It's not, Ethan said. It's power. He wants to use you to rebuild the Dominion. Her voice trembled. Then we must destroy it. Ethan looked at the damaged reactor beside him. There's one way. The regent's voice boomed from behind him. You will not. He turned, too late. The regent slammed his hand into Ethan's chest, sending him flying. The impact shattered metal. Ethan's armor cracked open. Pain flooded through him, bright, burning, endless. The regent raised his arm again, but before he could strike, the air shimmered. A beam of light shot through the wreck, and Lyra appeared, wrapped in a silver aura, her cloak torn and glowing. Her eyes blazed brighter than stars. Enough, she said, her voice echoing like thunder and song at once. The regent stepped back, for the first time uncertain. You awakened? Lyra floated above the ground, her hands glowing. You made me to command, but you forgot what that means. The ship trembled as energy pulsed from her, waves of light pushing the regent backward. Ethan, bleeding and barely conscious, whispered, Lyra, stop him. She looked at him, sadness and strength in her eyes. I will. Her glow grew brighter until it filled the entire chamber. The regent roared in fury and fear. You cannot destroy me. I am the Dominion. Lyra's voice was calm and final. And I am your end. A blinding flash engulfed them both. The ship shattered apart, pieces scattering into the void. For a moment, the stars went silent. Then, a faint golden pod drifted free from a wreckage. Inside, Ethan floated, barely alive, a soft silver light still glowing across his chest. Lyra was gone, or so it seemed. The stars were quiet again. Pieces of the Dominion flagship drifted across the black sea of space, silent, glowing like ashes after a storm. The war was over, but victory felt hollow. Ethan floated inside a cracked escape pod, breathing shallowly. The oxygen light blinked red. His armor was shattered, his body bruised and bleeding, but he was alive. Somehow, he looked at the faint silver glow pulsing across his chest, the same light that had once surrounded Lyra. He touched it weakly. Lyra, he whispered, you did it, didn't you? The pod's computer beeped, breaking the silence. Auto-navigation engaged. Destination, Earth. Earth, the lost world. Humanity's cradle. Ethan closed his eyes, letting exhaustion take him as the pod drifted toward a distant blue-gray planet. When he awoke, he was surrounded by fog. The pod had crashed among ancient ruins, stone towers covered in moss and silence. The air was cold, clean. He stepped outside, every movement aching. The sky above was pale and quiet. For the first time in years, he felt peace. He was home, or what was left of it. The ruins stretched for miles, the bones of once great cities now swallowed by time. But beneath the decay, he could still feel something alive. Energy. Ethan followed the faint hum through the ruins until he reached what looked like an old temple, its walls carved with symbols of stars, suns, and human figures holding spheres of light. In the center stood a pedestal. Upon it, a single crystal pulsed softly with silver and gold light. He froze. He knew that light. Lyra, he whispered. The crystal flickered, and a hologram appeared, her image forming in front of him, soft and glowing. She smiled gently, her voice like a memory made of light. Ethan, she said, if you're seeing this, then I am gone. He stepped closer, shaking his head. No, you're not gone. You can't be. Lyra's image tilted her head, her expression calm and kind. I gave everything to destroy the Regent and the Dominion with him, but my energy couldn't vanish. It needed a place to rest. She touched her chest, the light inside her flickering faintly. So I returned to where it all began, here on Earth. Ethan clenched his fists. You didn't have to sacrifice yourself. Her eyes softened. Yes, I did. You reminded me what it means to be human, to care, to hope, to fight for more than power. You saved me, Ethan, just as you saved the future. He could barely breathe. Then why do I feel like I lost everything? Lyra smiled sadly. Because you loved what was real. And what's real always hurts when it's gone. Tears blurred his vision. He reached out, his fingers passing through her hologram. There has to be a way to bring you back. Her gaze met his, full of warmth. Maybe not as I was, but part of me still lives. Ethan frowned. What do you mean? She gestured toward the ruins around them. These halls are not ruins. They are seeds, built by your ancestors long ago. I awakened them before the end. Within them sleeps the memory of humanity, waiting for you to guide it. The ground trembled softly. All around, faint lights began to rise from the stone walls, millions of small glowing fragments swirling into the air like golden dust. Ethan stepped back, staring in awe. What is this? Lyra's voice echoed, now fading like a song at its end. It's your people, Ethan. Every mind, every memory, every hope they left behind. You can rebuild them. You can begin again. He shook his head. I can't do this alone. Her image flickered, one last smile forming on her lips. You're not alone. You never were. The light inside you, it's part of me now. And I'll be with you until the stars forget our names. The hologram faded. The crystal dimmed. then sank into the pedestal, fusing with the floor. Ethan stood in silence, tears on his face, the golden light swirling around him like wind. He took a deep breath, looked up at the pale sky, and whispered, "All right, Lyra, let's bring them home." He pressed his hand against the pedestal. The golden dust responded, rising higher, spreading across the ruins. Moments later, the sky above Earth lit up, beams of golden light shooting into clouds, reaching beyond the planet, echoing through space. Across the stars, the dormant guardians awakened once more. The lost colony stirred. The systems that had gone silent for centuries flickered back to life. The message of humanity spread again, not as a weapon, but as a promise. Ethan watched it all unfold, the horizon burning with light. "We're back," he whispered. "And this time we don't kneel." He stood among the ruins, the last human, the first of the new age, as the wind carried Lyra's final words through the air. He saved a stranger, never knowing she owned worlds and feared no empire. And together, they awakened humanity's soul. The light rose higher, brighter, until it touched the stars. And somewhere, beyond that light, a familiar voice whispered softly, "I told you, Ethan, you were never alone.